it expects you to have clarity.
Yep.
Right, in your head on what is required, what is the specification, things like that. I think which is very wild if you think about it, right? Where what we used to think being an expert is basically the moat. I think that has basically suddenly gotten out of the equation by today.
It's moved on from saying I have an idea to now quickly saying, hey, it's actually production. We have this already up and running. It's very easy to talk about an idea, but when it comes to execution, it's very hard to describe the systems that need to talk to each other to make this moving in order, right?
Correct. Right? So you said, hey, I want to run an email campaign for 100,000 people. It's basically an idea you want to run.
Yep.
I want to run basically a campaign on
that is right.
campaign for, let's say, for Highperformr. That's in itself has multiple building blocks, multiple nodes. But today, Ramesh, right, what's happening is that this whole process of let's say 25 different workflows, 100 different research points, all of it is squeezed from few days, few weeks to few minutes.
Yeah.
So now if this is possible, then what exactly are people getting paid for, or what are the people who are actually focusing on?
Hi,
morning, Ramesh.
Hi, folks.
Hi, Ramesh. Morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. How you been? Hope you're back in action today.
Yes,
to see you.
That's back in action indeed. So for the uninitiated, for those who know, I had a small surgery in the beginning of the year.
Okay.
I thought I was strong until my body has its own way to say, hey, you aren't as strong as you think. So I had to undergo a small procedure, but that gave me downtime.
Okay.
More to think about myself, life, family, Highperformr, kids.
Wow.
When you're being taken in the stretcher towards the operation theater,
okay,
these are the things are running in your head, right?
Okay, I don't want to make this part more philosophical.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
But I think we'll have to do one. I didn't realize that a 2-day break would take you into a philosophical journey.
It did. And with a view of a sea view when waves are just about hitting, and it was no less of an experience to time.
Yeah, I think you should drop a photo of the view from your
all right
from your hospital. That'll be fun. But anyway, welcome back.
Thank
Ramesh,
you,
and welcome back to our pod.
Yeah,
good
this
to have
is
you back. Yeah,
Outbound by Highperformr. My name is Ramesh.
I'm Sri,
and today we're going to talk about a lot of things in AI as we continue to do. Is how automation is now disrupting this entire new space of AI. So we did talk about this. AI is helping us think beyond people, beyond just a single point of expertise. You wanted to do 10 things, but you relied on the skill of a person who could just do one thing. That was the hero of the issue. But now with AI, we did speak about that in our past pods. But today we are also talking about how AI is quite killing the advantage of being an expert, right? Because we moved on from an expert to AI, and now depending on an expert to use AI to now, doing things all your time.
Okay.
So I think automation is just between those two.
Okay. I mean, it's very, very interesting topic. I think we should maybe explain that a little deeper. But I'll give an example, Ramesh. I mean, when you said AI is killing the advantage of being an expert.
Yep.
I'll give an example. Over the weekend, I have to use, maybe create some few versions of photos, passport size photos, uploaded a few from university application, all of that, right? In the past, these had different specification, different background, color, and all of that.
Yep.
I mean, I would go look at an expert, and I'll even look at, maybe taking help from somebody like Harsh to get my photos clearly chopped in and all of that. I think get to a shop, printed and all of that. Today, 15-20 minutes of a chat with ChatGPT, I got my work done, filled up everything very well. But I'll tell you what the difference. It expects you to have clarity.
Yep.
Right in your head on what is required, what is the specification, things like that. I mean, which is very wild if you think about it, right? Where what we used to think being an expert is basically the moat. I think that has basically suddenly gotten out of the equation by today. I think most people even I don't think I even realized that. Only after I got it through, I said I don't need the help of Harsh. Sorry, Harsh, but I don't think I need the help of an expert.
That's very true,
right? And I could do the automation myself.
So what's the problem statement? How would you bring that to the problem here?
So I mean, like you said, let's define the gap, right? I'll ask you this question, right? Let's say this is Q1, right? And let's say we already have clarity on the target you wanted to look for this quarter. Now, typically, how do you kind of lay it down as an execution path, right? You would start looking at the various campaigns you run, right? What happens after that?
I think campaigns is just the easier part to
Correct.
to be very honest, right? I think it all boils down to execution and how you run these, and that's not changed over a period of time.
Correct.
It's not that AI
Correct.
changed it, but the way I would have looked at it is work backwards, maybe do a back of the envelope calculation to know what revenue you need, and then work towards what's the distribution coverage that you need in terms of people, and
That's
then
one
bring
side.
that into on one side.
On the other side,
It was also about how do you execute these campaigns, right? You needed. It was always about with idea. I could run into someone like a GTM engineer, and I say, "Hey, how can we get this done ASAP?" Right? It's moved on from having saying I have an idea to now quickly saying, "Hey, it's actually in production. We have this already up and running."
Okay, so which means an idea that like you have a goal, then you look at a bunch of ideas to run as a campaign ideas, then you want to see it in production running.
Correct.
And then what we typically do, I think we've done this for the last couple of years. What we've done is that we go find out, what is the gap, and if we can find some specialists to fill the gaps. I think sometimes it could be in-house, sometimes it could be like somebody external. You find a consultant, you find an agency. We have done all of that. Then you'll have a kind of a remote specialist in-house. Do all of that to basically try to fill the gap so that you can run execution.
Correct.
That's how typically.
Absolutely right.
That gap, which is typically is nothing but either an export or an automation which comes in. I think that's where the problem is.
Oh, absolutely right. And it was very hard to describe what you actually wanted.
Okay.
Because it's very easy to talk about an idea, but when it comes to execution, it's very hard to describe the systems that need to talk to each other to make this moving in order, right?
Correct.
Let me take an example. Imagine you had to send 100,000 emails as part of an email marketing.
Correct.
So to your point, we needed a GTM engineer to kind of knows, hey, or RevOps for that matter, to know which geographies you want to run a campaign based on the revenue goals that we have. You needed an email marketing, so you were at the mercy of an email marketer who knew what IDs should these email go in from. You needed a product marketing manager to kind of figure out what the right messaging is to get there, right? So that plays a role. And then you need a demand gen person to see, okay, how do we funnel all of these leads into, right? Now that's the big landscape, and you had people involved. Now to your point, cutting to the expertise, you become an expert yourself. You needed someone to talk about which APIs that connect the context, right? It could be from multiple other enrichment sources that we have. Which integrations you needed? It could, you have to pull it out from the CRM. You need to get an email system that needs to go into. What you always thought about was the edge cases. How do you, ensure that the customers in Dubai, you're wishing them for Ramadan, but it's a US-based company, and that was tricky. Those were edge cases, and obviously you had tool limitations, debugging, and then you had an engineer coming, right? So,
but Ramesh, if you look at it, if you take a step back, that knowledge was the moat.
Oh, absolutely.
In the past, right? That's all. We weren't paying for execution. I don't think we always thought we could execute it, right? But we were actually paying for that knowledge, right? Actually, we were paying for us, as a startup, we were paying to cost that gap. There were gaps in our plan, which we probably didn't have in-house or even had external agencies coming in. We paid to actually fill in the gaps. For you to basically hit a target, you had run maybe a few campaigns, there were a few ideas already, but for you to execute, there were gaps, and you ended up paying for that gaps.
Absolutely.
People from expertise and all that. So that is where the things are changing now.
And because of these gaps, it also protected a whole lot of consultants, agents, and nothing wrong in that, really. But when things can be done faster, and here is where we are seeing the entire gap getting shrunk as well. It's just collapsing.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. But if you look at it, Ramesh, the little bit of uncomfortable truth here is now with the AI coming into picture, right? AI didn't just, I think, get us better in helping people build a workflow or automation, all of that, right? But it's getting better, in helping human understand the various tools. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
I think, and be able to connect the dots.
Oh, you bring in a very big point, and that's the shift we're trying to, and it's very hard to also explain, and most people don't get. It's not that AI helps you write workflows, right? It goes beyond that and says AI actually understands your tool better than you ever will. right? Because you know the APIs, you know the integrations, you know the enrichment ideas that are available, and so APIs can probably help you.
Correct. So we should go back and also use the same use case. Example you mentioned, Ramesh, right? So you said, hey, I want to run an email campaign for 100,000 people. It's basically an idea you want to run.
Yep.
I want to run basically a campaign on a
That is right.
campaign for, let's say, for Highperformr. It's in itself has multiple building blocks, multiple nodes, all together stitched together, coming in as an execution plan. Today, all of that, if you look at every node, every use case, every the message you want to send, all of that gap which you say I want these things, is live, right?
Yeah, very true.
In few minutes, few hours, rather than there's like very little moment to get it done, right? That's where I would look at it.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll give a real-time example, right? So let's take an example. You wanted to understand your competitors, right? Like a campaign part of your, let's say, Q1.
Comp kill.
Whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Comp kill or whatever. So what do you do? Typically, you go into the process of having a bunch of people or in-house or external be able to monitor their websites or their LinkedIn engagement on of the competitors. Go look at the people who are engaging with them, identify the ICP, which is matching your target ICP, etc. It's all about 7-8 steps, and then you translate that into a list, import it into a CRM. This whole thing is like about 15-20 steps for you to execute. Right?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is where you also relied on consultants / agencies to help you scope this out, build out the campaign, and then it moved on to some of the engineers in the email marketing team to ensure that it's got the bandwidth to send 100,000 emails despite all the ones that are already happening. And then, boom, you felt that, okay, we are not yet ready. It moves.
Correct.
Typically, this is what happens in every email campaign because there's already a campaign that's running. There's a new idea. How do you scale?
Correct. But today, Ramesh, right, what's happening is that this whole process of, let's say, 25 different workflows, 100 different research points, all of it is squeezed from few days, few weeks to few minutes.
Yeah.
So now, if this is possible, then what exactly are people getting paid for, or what are the people who are actually focusing on?
Yeah.
Right? That's a big question to be answered.
Right? It will become, if it hasn't already, it will become an overhead for all the companies engaging one to be. That's the right.
So in fact, that is the point, right? It's exactly, if you can take a look at the example which I started off with, right? Having an expertise in being somebody who's able to kind of edit the photo is no more a moat, right?
Yeah.
Similarly,
very true. That's nice.
Having to configure these steps into a workflow. I think in the days when you had CRM maybe in one side, you had a marketing automation on the other side, all of that were siloed. The workflows were siloed. Today, all of that is coming into an orchestration layer which is centralized, and that is all AI driven.
Absolutely.
Which means that within a conversation, within a paragraph, I can get the whole thing connected very
well. Yeah.
Right? You can use a tool like NI10 or Highperformr or any other tool. All of them is orchestrating the whole workflow in about less than 15-20 minutes.
And these workflows are complex workflows, right? It can take care of your edge cases, most often than not, right? And that's the beauty about it, right? By the time you think of an idea, you use AI as in being an expert right itself, write the prompt beautifully of the workflow that is needed. By the time you go for lunch and come back, it's already executed.
But one major shift, Ramesh, and I'll tell you what's happening is that experts, like us, or anybody in your team, you bring in somebody like an DevOps team or a DevOps person, they basically think about implementation.
Yeah.
We always been used to thinking about implementing this for 4 weeks. This would take 6 weeks for me to implement. And all our energy and time was going into optimizing how efficiently I can implement. But with AI, I think now you are able to think about outcomes.
Oh, very well said.
Right? So, which means that typically when I was an expert, doing all these things, right, I would think, how would I build this? I mean, that was my question in my mind. How can I quickly do it? What tool I should do? How do I connect the dots together? But today with AI, I'm thinking about what is the outcome? How many meetings should I have? Right?
That's the second question is more business relevant, is more real.
Okay.
Which is, what should this do? Okay, so what? We're building this campaign, we're building automation, that's fine. It's getting implemented. What should this actually do? Should it bring in X number of responses, Y number of meetings, and Z number of conversations?
Correct.
And I think to get there, we've seen this, right? Everyone gets, hey, this campaign has to go live.
Correct.
And then there is a whole lot of buzzing happening if this, if it's a good, and at the end of it, you still don't know. You still don't know the outcome.
Correct.
It's always left in the air saying, yeah, we executed it.
Correct.
What happened, no one cares.
Correct.
It's very hard. It's very easy to say that such a, basic but powerful idea to go behind competition. 3 weeks down the line or 4 weeks down the line, if you have someone reviewing it,
Correct.
we still don't know. The response is the campaign is still in progress, and that's not a response that in this age you would ever accept, right?
Yeah, and in essence, right, what has changed is fundamentally this. Even it has changed from us from last January to right.
Even now.
The way we approach the campaigns is different. It's not because we become, as founders, we become smarter. I will tell you, it's because we're able to describe the problem better.
Yeah,
I mean, there's only one reason, right?
Sure.
There's only one reason. And the only skill, in fact, if at all, I would want to put a skill which we have learned in the last couple of years is that, hey, we are more clear. The clarity is basically the new technical skill, I would say.
Very true. Sri and I debated this last week on a call, and we were talking about how context is important and how. So I think context is one bit of the clarity that is is needed. Like context is built automatically in this automation or workflow.
Correct.
But what you need
Correct.
is clarity, which is probably the new technical skill. Even for engineers, it's no more the syntax or the bug that needs to be debugged. Right? It's not about bringing in any tools. It's about clarity. What do I want to get out of this?
Correct.
I think that's a new part as well.
Correct. I mean, in fact, Ramesh, if you want to dwell deeper, right, which means that it also means the stack is changing, right? What used to be, your whole stack. I mean, when I mean stack, the end-to-end, the composition of how you execute is changing.
Very true. Because when you're thinking about a marketing stack, the MarTech stack has always been
Correct.
right and front and center of every marketer, right? And you've kind of built your career around this MarTech stack.
Correct.
I need to get audiences expensive as hell, right?
Okay.
You need to get, in fact, from a marketer's purview, you need to get ABM. You need to have email marketing system supporting it. You need to have workflows that probably join this. You need to work with the RevOps team. So if you see, and I've just, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? What I'm talking about. It involves people. The moment it involves as many people, there's also as many conversations, as many Chinese whispers that actually go down, right?
Okay.
So it's not about one tool or the tech stack.
Okay.
I mean, it is about the stack that we are talking about constantly, right? To make this entire thing possible. And I think fast forward till now, in January 2026, a tool like Highperformr is able to get to this much faster.
So what is the difference? I mean, just so that everybody understands, right?
I think because of clarity, you now are able to execute campaigns as ComKill. Like just taking ComKill, right? You need to understand who the people behind that are engaging with the competitors. You need to understand how do you reach out to them? What's the context of reaching out to them?
Okay.
You need to have 3 multiple ways of connecting to them. It could be phone, email, LinkedIn connections, right? I'm just stacking the layers, right?
Okay.
And then you need to also know what's the message that will resonate with them when you reaching out to them.
Okay.
And you're dependent on people to reach out to them multiple times from a sales angle. And the most important is with every passing day, the context changes.
Okay. Interesting.
Right? What my competition was talking about yesterday is very different from what it would be even for a week down the line. So how do you change, align to that much faster?
Okay, but I'll ask you something, Ramesh. It's very easy. Probably 2025, everybody understands when you say this. For a developer, from a product context point of view, product building point of view, it's everybody understands now. Yeah, I go to Cortex or I go to one of those products. I define the problem.
Yeah.
And immediately our audience would have thought about maybe a kind of developer sitting in front of an LLM kind of code generator and having a clear statement about building a product, and it just gives it. That's what people think.
Correct.
Right? But in GTM, let's just double click a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you see this shift?
I think it was all about the agencies or the consultants doing some kind of research, or even your PMM, you had a whole team of them trying to do it. It is labor intensive, to be honest, right?
So you start with research.
And then it moved on to putting them in some kind of a format, let's say CSV or
some database.
I
have to build a list of people I have targeted.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You work and dedupe that with the data that you have in the CRM.
Okay.
Right.
Then there's a dedupe. I mean, again, you know this. In your
okay, let's say the CRM is let's say CRM is involved over here just to ensure that this data set that you have and the data set that you have in CRM are either mutually exclusive or there is a sense that needs to be made out there. Basis which you get another list that needs to be plugged into your outreach tool, and it could be email marketing or what the case would be.
So how do I decide I should not send a message to my existing customers on the list?
Exactly, that's deduping on CRM, right? Thank you. And then it moves down to the salespeople, and then there's automation, and then there's LinkedIn. I'm sorry, earlier there's no automation until there's LinkedIn, there's email, there's everything, and then there's guesswork. Only there's one force on top whom you could rely. But cut to the chase, Jan 2026. It's really fast. It's quick. It's about, hey, these are the signals. Very clear. This is the workflow that I want to operate on, which is the orchestration layer on it. Because of the signals, you already have context to workflows to action. So you literally can say that you are likely to get 10 meetings out of this campaign.
And you could repeat it any number of times.
Any number of times. Right? Any number of times.
So right now, I'll give an example. Ramesh, we have quite a few customers now, right? We set them up one workflow, right? Just one workflow end to end, which exactly does this, identifying signals to helping them. The reason why, so this is all automated. When you say signals, we help you identify your list unit target.
Correct.
Then you give the context because with their existing customers, their prospects, are they ICP matched, all the different things, are they active on LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. Then you orchestrate the outreach, and then you have action. If the outcome is not there, you repeat. So which means that now context plus orchestration is the new one.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is possible only because of the AI powered, the automation you're doing. And I think that's what we believe is that it's also taking you to a new economy, which is very automation driven economy.
Yeah.
Right.
So you don't necessarily need multiple tools. I think that's where we're getting into.
One thing, yes.
But despite all of those tools and MarTech conversations that we can continue to go on, it's about the new norm is just the context. The clarity that you need is what is the context, what is the orchestration, and what is the outcome. I think these are the three pillars that will guide any quick engagement.
So do you think these will replace the traditional SaaS products like CRMs and marketing automation over a period of time? I'm not saying today.
I think the ones that are there existing will adopt to this. Now a CRM, of course, even as badly kept data, it's still data good enough to know what is the context, right? So that's not going to replace. I think CRM companies will start adopting this right now, but that's going to take a while.
But it's a very interesting thing, Ramesh. So what you're saying is that when somebody can describe a workflow, meaning my business workflow, hey, in the middle to execute.
Right? Absolutely.
So what it means is that I could scale, I could try different ideas, experiment more. And as a result of it, outcome will happen because what used to be like executing one campaign or two campaigns, typically how many campaigns would you run for a target you have for Q1? Maybe last year, before?
I mean, we can start with 2 and then there is enough.
So now I think you will run it until the time you will get outcome.
Oh yeah.
Probably, right? That's a big shift.
That very well said, and we know this. Let's just. I'm going to just digress a little bit and wear the hats rather of an SDR who was always in calling. Whole of November and December, this SDR has been calling numbers.
Correct.
Whatever the tools are for calling, right? And the throughput has been low. We changed the campaign to a little bit in terms of the context of what he needs to speak. And today, from the same set of campaign, same set of audience, he's been able to get meetings. So nothing's changed literally, right? The number is the same, the people are the same. Your idea was different. You wanted to position a different way of approaching, and that's the only change. He continued to dial the same numbers, but instead of calling that list obsolete or not working, or poor response, he now has the same list which is now given him meetings.
Yeah, but there's one more important thing, Ramesh, and we spoke about it. Now the SDRs are looking at meetings, and some of your automations you've done also.
Oh, they're bringing in meetings,
helping them get.
Meetings, very true.
So it is not about a response anymore, right? Some of the automation which I think we have implemented, with our own tools, is that we bring in meetings, not any more conversation. I mean, that's a very interesting part. Anyway, so Ramesh, I think just to conclude, do you think this is something which, let's say, many of the teams will miss? Understanding?
I think it's whoever gets to this faster gets to compound their chances of success. And success over here is just not open rates or
Okay.
anything for that case, right? It's about how soon are you able to get your audience, how fast are you able to get your audience, how soon can you build the workflows. I think that's going to be, that will be the core.
Okay.
But most teams will be late to react to this.
React to it, okay.
Typically you go to any other company and you talk to RevOps, and they are often, and we've seen there's nothing wrong about it, Sri, but everyone is like, hey, we're trying to figure out AI ourselves. It's interesting. We are still experimenting it with ourselves. We'll probably roll it out next quarter. And these are typical conversations that you get to hear.
But you know what? There are other people who are actually collapsing their whole
absolutely. That's what I'm going to say.
Delivery time by 5x, 10x. Just for only one reason, right? You supplement expertise with execution.
Yeah.
And then look at outcome with these tools. A lot of people are squeezing in a lot of these tools and bringing in one layer which is orchestrating across the board. That's a
totally right. You're not thinking about tooling change. It's more about mindset change. It's more economic. What is the economic value that you're going to get out of this incremental that you're constantly talking? And it's not coding. It's not operations. It is not necessarily even about automation. Right.
Okay. So you mean the new skill set?
The new skill set.
I think what we used to think about. Do you have like exactly you're saying? We look for do you have skill set in coding, you have executed ops in terms of things like that. But I think the new skill sets are like problem framing.
Yeah.
Right. What is the constraints? Understanding your constraint, because you are the only one who knows the constraint, because you only know the business.
Absolutely.
Right. What's the constraint?
Yeah.
Like, do we have clarity on outcome? Right.
Yeah.
When you say outcome meeting, instead of saying just meeting, with whom do you want the meeting? You have a persona with whom you have won businesses in the past, right? Fast iteration, and also keep the implementation very simple. I think some of these are the new skill set. I think every role should do it.
Correct.
Including the GTM.
I like what he said. Every role should be involved. It's just not the GTM over here.
Absolutely.
So the winners won't necessarily be the best builders, right? Like, hey, you have a separate team of builders who can build this for you. But strategically speaking, they'll be the winners will be the ones who best define the problem with clarity in their heads.
Okay. So which means you just throwing in something very interesting, Ramesh. The gap that protected the experts is gone.
Yeah. And if your business depends on that gap, it is too late. And that's what we are seeing on an everyday basis.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's that. I mean, that's a very interesting take to have. But I think Ramesh, if you look at the new game, it's not about who can build this. It's about who understands what should really the clarity on what you need, clarity on what is your problem, what is your business, like how it is relevant to you. All that is more important than anything else in the world today.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the new moat. And I'm not just saying this for marketing purposes to why clarity is a new moat, right? We're looking at, it's been audiences has been your new moat 2 years back. Workflows have been your new moat. Ages, right? However good your workflows is. Context has been your moat last year. And this year, if you see, you need the clarity. That's all you need. What campaign? And then forget the exponential outreach it can have.
Okay.
But I think it's the clarity that is a new moat.
That's interesting part. Okay. This is great, Ramesh, and it's good to maybe have you back.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll continue this, and please let us know what you think. Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.